Hey everyone, welcome back to another edition of Outdoor Hospitality Weekly. I'm Alex Burkett, joined as always by Matt Whittemore. And today we're joined by somebody really helping, shape how campground park operators as well as campers in the industry are discovering and booking travel across the country. We're joined by Garrett McKinnon, Chief Revenue Operating Officer at Campground Views, a platform combining immersive video, virtual tours, and AI-powered trip planning to help people book outdoor stays. So, Garrett, that was a quick introduction, but thanks again for joining us.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. Obviously, tune into some episodes, so it's nice to finally sit in the chair with you boys and chat shop a little bit.
For sure.
Absolutely. So, Garrett, just as a quick warm up, like I said, I know I gave a brief background there, but walk us through your story as kind of a sales guy, obviously outside of the outdoor industry for a bit. How did you end up, in this space working with Mark and doing what you do now with Campground Views?
Yeah, no, I love it. That's a great question. And, I get it from people, especially at conferences and stuff, and they go, how did Mark find you? Right? I've had multiple people come up to me and say, like, how did Mark find you? And I'm like, listen, you're never going to believe this, right? So, I mean, Mark had built this, what I thought when I came in was a great product, and he was looking for somebody that could essentially get it out to the industry, right? So, my background was in, commission-based sales. I grew up in a door-to-door environment. I'm very proud of the fact that I ran door-to-door businesses successfully for many years. We did it the right way. And when I exited that business, I got into some other industries, spent some time in the craft beer industry, which was interesting and kind of unique, helping develop, a brewery and kind of turn it around. It was struggling. And then I was working in another industry called high ticket. So nobody really knows what the high ticket sales space is. It's kind of like this whole underground industry. But if you look at guys like Tony Robbins and some of these people that are online, like Tony Robbins, he doesn't sell tickets to his event. He's got a whole team of people behind him that are actually selling tickets. So I worked in the high ticket sales space, and that's where, Mark kind of reached out to our company at the time, was like, hey, can you guys sell Campground Views for us? And we were like, it's not really meeting what we do. So anyways, long story short, I kind of took him on as a consultant, and I was consulting to him, and he and I just hit it off. And again, I looked at the industry. I went to a conference. I went to PACOA actually in the Poconos, and I saw the industry. I was like, man, this industry, there's something about this. Like, the vibe at the event was really cool. The people that I met were really unique and just, down to earth. And I got to meet Mark, and I was like, hey, I'd like to help you grow this company. So, in 2023, I guess it was when I met. 2024, I started full time, and here we are 2 years later, and we're growing and having a good time doing it. And I'm, hanging out with some really awesome people, traveling around, talking about campgrounds.
Love it. And you guys have recently announced a few different partnerships. Um, you have first, we talk a lot about the investment side of the industry. And so you guys are doing some work with Campground Brokers of America
Right.
on the listing side of the business. So I feel like that probably gives you an additional lens into the industry. Tell us a little bit about that. We've had Tim Dugan on the show, and good buds with Tim and the team over there, and I feel like that's probably really interesting, different kind of work for you guys. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, no, it's been interesting to kind of like learn almost all facets of the industry on some level, right? So, what we do is, video virtual tours for campgrounds, being Campground Views. But, through my relationships and growing and being in, different conferences and stuff, I've got to kind of pick up a little bit of everything. I can tell you right now, I tell everybody you'll never see me own a campground, just because I have I have way too much respect for the hard work that the owners and operators are putting in. But as far as Tim goes, Tim came to us with a really, kind of cool, unique idea, and it was really an opportunity for us to help his business, an opportunity for us to capture more parks and put them on our platform. So again, it grows our network of parks that we currently have, which continues to grow every year. But we just looked at it, and speaking to some of my friends in the industry now that are traveling around the country, previewing parks, looking at parks, trying to drive through them and see, hey, is this the next purchase for our portfolio? It just lined up that Tim's opportunity just made sense. Hey, if we can capture these parks in a video virtual tour and save somebody a flight until they're really ready to see that park and they can drive through it with our technology, then great, let's partner on that. And so far it's been a success. It's been an overwhelming success. Tim's keeping our team extremely busy, which is good. So, good signs for Tim at Campground Brokers of America. Everyone on his team has been excellent to work with. So, it's been a great partnership for us, and we're having a lot of fun doing it. And hopefully that just continues to grow and again, makes opportunities for owners and sellers to just provide a seamless, transition.
Nice. And then the other one you guys announced, I think earlier this year, right, was RecPro.
Yeah. Yeah. So RecPro was a
that.
very, very big announcement for us, big partnership for us. In talking to a lot of the campground side of things, they don't realize like RecPro, on average is 400 to 600,000 unique visitors per month to the RecPro website. So RecPro is, one of the largest aftermarket websites, resources for campers to go and buy parts. It actually blew me away because I was hanging out with the RecPro team at the Tampa RV show. People are going over and buying a fifth wheel, any one of these fifth wheels at an astronomical price, walking over to RecPro and being like, hey guys, I'd like to get this recliner in this color. And I'm just like, wait a second. I'm like, did I hear you right? You just bought a new fifth wheel and now you want to rip out the brand new couch that you have in there and put in this recliner or whatever. So, again, it just gave me another look at kind of the operating mind of an RVer and why RecPro is so big. So the partnership there just made a lot of sense. Hey, they're bringing people to their website to buy supplies for when they go camping. We're bringing people to our website to make it easier for them to go camping. So it just really came together. And of course, RecPro is owned by Patrick Industries out of Elkhart, Indiana. Jeff Rodino, Doyle Stump, the whole team at Patrick's been incredibly supportive of what we've got going on. We were able to host the KOA leadership team at the Patrick Studio in Elkhart. If you guys haven't seen it, let me know. I'll get you over to see this place because it is magnificent. They've got a giant 50-foot screen in there. So you can put a full-size camper, 1-to-1 ratio, and you can design, everything that you want to have in your RV in 1-to-1 ratio. You can see what the chairs look like, what the tables look like, the kitchen faucets. It's state-of-the-art, super cool. We had a really good time there a couple weeks ago after the Power Breakfast.
That's amazing. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna take you up on that.
So Garrett, you kind of went through those partnerships there, obviously there's good coverage with, campground brokers on kind of like the business owner side or kind of the sales side of the industry with transactions and changing hands. RecPro kind of covers the consumer aftermarket side. And that's kind of where your guys' bread and butter is and how you got started, right? Mark, when I talked with him several years ago, I think maybe even before, you came on board, He was doing a lot of the state parks. There was obviously a lot of private campgrounds still involved. But meeting the consumer demand from that side and saying, hey, I'm looking to book this type of trip. I'm looking to do that kind of trip planning. You guys have really evolved that a little bit with having more AI enabled stuff, which obviously is a big topic of conversation. And then obviously this will kind of head into what I think Matt and I want to cover as kind of a macro topic of just the state of the industry as a whole. If anybody's closer to seeing how consumers are using trip planning and actually booking, it's a tool like what you guys have at Campground Views. So first, just tell us about the kind of AI additions, and then, maybe that'll lead us into a little bit of just what you're seeing in the market with consumers taking trips.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, when I got into this partnership with Mark and we, really started to grow this, especially on the private campground side of things, at that time, 2 years ago, AI was starting, it was a topic. People were, starting to say, hey, this is coming along. And I always tell people, listen, I'm not the tech aspect of our business or IT in any way, shape, or form. Mark is. And so, I kind of turned to him and said, listen, like, I need you to go down the rabbit hole on this, and I need you to learn and absorb and do as much as you can. Now, that was easy for him because he absolutely loves it. So, he literally wakes up and turns on podcasts that are teaching him about AI. I've witnessed it. I'm like, okay, he's absorbing this information. And then, as we evolved our website, and we just launched about 3 weeks ago now, we just launched our brand new Campground Views website. It was built basically all by AI. And Mark will tell you 6 months ago, a year ago, there was no opportunity for him to build a website at this scale with the features that it had. Like the tools just weren't available, right? Now we have the resources, or they were available, but they took, months to build. You had to go, and thousands of dollars to do it. That's not the case anymore. Right. So that's where we're seeing somebody like Mark, who has a good knowledge, is able to go on and build a website and put in all these AI tools that we have. And like, to give you an example, Mark was driving from the Arizona conference up to Wyoming. He bought an older Class A SUV, RV, and he was driving it home. And while he was driving it home, he goes, "You know what we need on our route planner? We need weather mapping." So he gets home on Sunday night, goes onto the computer and starts messing around with our website. Now we have wind, we have radar, we have weather mapping all integrated on our route planner. That's the type of abilities that we have now, working with AI and understanding the tools that are available to build into our trip planner, right? So, our trip planner has really evolved just because of technology. It's now out there now that we can build these things in and take advantage of it. So it goes hand in hand to the virtual tours that we have as well. So we're going to continue to evolve that trip planner, build it out, and make it best in class.
That's great. And then Garrett, obviously there was Jeff Kreider put out a Woodall story today, talking about kind of the RV bookings cooling down as maybe a result of fuel prices. CampSpot's put some data about this, saying, overall site nights are down about 1.2% below last year's pace. We're a CampSpot park here at my property, and I would say I'm on the transient side. I'm sensing a little bit of that, ourself, especially I would say midweek bookings normally are not as strong across the board, but that's really where I've struggled. What have you seen as far as, just obviously you're not necessarily getting the direct booking data, but at least the interest data? Are people still taking longer trips? Are there regions of the country where you're seeing, maybe a little bit more struggle? And what advice would you have for somebody who might be experiencing that, and with what you've seen, to say this is what the good parks are doing to help combat that?
Yeah, well, I mean, first thing, obviously I've been traveling through a lot of different states, and even just on my last trip, I noticed like, oh, fuel prices have come down already, right? So I think I was in Spokane, Washington. I want to say I paid like, $4.89 a gallon. And then last week in Nashville, I think I was closer to like $3.89 a gallon. So, now keep in mind, I don't know if that's normal. Like maybe Spokane's just always way more expensive than Nashville. But I think, there has been some relief at the pumps. At the same time, we're still kind of cooling off, I think, from that COVID high, right? We're starting to cool off. And then you add in all the other factors like the cost of travel and those types of things. Now, I'm speaking with owners and operators, and some are saying, listen, I'm down on nights, but I'm up on revenue. Because over the years they've increased what the costs are, right? Or they've put in some cabins and some yurts and some tents, and those are getting premium pricing compared to what the RV site was getting, right? So maybe 10 sites now are generating, $150 to $250 a night, where that site 2, 3, 4 years ago was only generating $55 a night, or whatever the case is. So it really is a mixed bag. One of the things that Toby talked about at the Power Breakfast a couple weeks ago, and something that kind of resonated with me, was there's a lot of people that own RVs. There's a lot of people that are, campers, or would call themselves RVers. The issue that I kind of see now is that they're not going out and doing it enough. So, on average now, our families are only going out one, maybe 1.5 to 2 times according to the data. If we can get the guests that we have that own RVs, that have been RVing, that are going RVing or want to go RVing, if we can get them to camp 3 times in a season, what would that do for our industry across the board? It would be huge. So, sometimes we're kind of caught in this wheel of like, we need to get more people into the industry. We need to get more people camping. Not exactly. We just need to get people that have campers to go camping and love camping, right? So kind of how do we do that? And obviously, Alex, people are always talking about during the week is, it's quiet, it's slow. Yeah, that's normal. Okay. So, and then it goes back to like, well, what do I do? Well, I offer them 25% off or book 2 nights and get your Sunday night free or whatever the case is. Yeah, you can do all those things. And those are kind of like the normal things. But what are some of the outside the box ideas that we can do to get people to stay here? So, I know now I work remote. I know a lot of people now that work remote. 10 years ago, we never really heard anybody be like, I work remote. Or if you saw somebody or met somebody at work remote, you're like, what do you do? How did you get that job? You don't go to an office. Like 10 years ago, guys, working remote. Who did you know anybody that was working remote 10 years ago?
No, I mean, I
Maybe
start,
similar to your job, right? Remote sales or like maybe
Right.
customer
yeah.
service, but that was about it.
Yeah. I
I was
mean,
selling software in 2018, and I started working from home in 2018. So I got the taste of it before everybody else did during COVID. And I'm like, I went and got a co-working space because I can't handle working from home anymore. With a 3-year-old, it's like just craziness. So I'm like, I need an office, and it's such a funny world we live in.
yeah.
It ties into the camping industry so well, right? Like at Unhitched, we have so many full-time RVers that all work inside their RV, right? They're employed. They work from home in their RV, which is their home. So it's a whole new world.
It really is. I mean, and it's funny the work from home challenges. Like, I don't know if you hear, I got French bulldog. She's always sleeping on the couch back here, snoring. People have their kids coming in and out of meetings and all
Yeah,
that type of stuff, right? But as far as it goes to like getting campers during the week, like, well, if your kids aren't in school and you work remote, why aren't you going camping and working from the RV while your kids are, riding their bicycles outside or whatever the case is,
for
right?
sure.
So, you know, I would kind of market to that like, hey, you want to work remote from the office? Make the office your RV. Stay here for the week at a discounted work from home rate. I'd even have something like, hey, show me what you do for work and I'll give you a discount or whatever the case is. But encourage these people like you're going to sit at home with your kids downstairs playing in the playpen while you're, like me upstairs in my spare bedroom cubicle. Like, come up with a way to appeal to that audience and that guest and encourage them to come during the week. And I mean, maybe set up some sort of, now, I don't know if this is possible, but some sort of childcare, some sort of day camp, like offer a day camp at the camp where you can work remote and, little Timmy goes off and, learns how to build sandcastles down by the beach all day long, right?
Yeah.
Like again, it's sometimes it's just sitting back and thinking like outside of just saying, hey, I'm gonna offer 25% off. What can I actually do to get these people here during the week?
Right. I've always loved the idea of doing like a co-working space,
Mhm.
like really good workstations
Yeah,
at a campground or like a glamping property to try and get those do like a community of like co-work together,
yeah,
set up a little kind of cafe, coffee shop vibe with some cool workstations, the monitors you can come plug in because that's what's tough, right? I've seen some work from home setups inside RVs. You got the cafe table with like two huge monitors on it. You can make it work, but it's easy to get uncomfortable and get a little claustrophobic. I've done it myself working from the booth inside a travel trailer.
well,
Um,
those, how you can get those, like you see them in airports and stuff now, the pods, like the office pods, right, where you
yes,
can go in,
Mhm.
close the door.
yeah,
You just gave me an idea. I'm like, maybe I should start buying some RVs, gutting them and then turning them into mobile office pods, and you can, I can drop them at your campground for a couple bucks a week. You can rent them out, right? Oh, Matt's looking, he's like,
yeah. There's a company. There's like one of those new aged RV companies that does all aluminum RVs. I'm blanking on the name of it, but
ATC.
yes.
Yeah,
So check out ATC's website,
yeah,
and they actually have that.
yeah,
They have that with like the office setup inside. Pretty cool.
brilliant.
I was kind of
Yeah,
shopping that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No,
So I think it. Go
there's
ahead.
ways to get people. There's ways to get
Yeah.
people at the park during the week, right? As I said, like a day camp or whatever. Somebody's got 3 or 4 kids, and you're offering a really affordable day camp, or like day camps included with your stay during the week. Like, Again, it's about being creative and being different, and there's so many different levels to that. Now that I've seen, and virtually, especially driven through so many different campgrounds, like I see what I like, I see kind of what I myself personally, what I like, what I don't like. But yeah, it's there's some different things going on at different parks that I'm saying like, hey, do some of these things, and you're able to get some more revenue out of these folks.
Yeah.
But you got to give them something like. Don't just increase revenue because you need to make an extra $5,000 this month, so you're going to charge $10 more for the site. Give me something for the site that makes it valuable.
Yeah. I think that's a really appropriate segue too into another story that caught our eye. Another shout out to Woodall's, another Woodall story that was published this morning. California is the wine industry in California is struggling with a grape surplus, and that's trickling into our industry via Harvest Hosts, which really cool platform, and Hip Camp, obviously really ingrained into the kind of the more boutique, non-institutional campsites, smaller, kind of remote and like wilderness camping. So these vineyards are popping up on these platforms. And one of my favorite things about talking with you is that you are a well-traveled individual. You know our industry as good as anybody. You've been to, how many campgrounds do you think you've been to? Uh,
A lot, not as many as Mark. Mark's been over 5,000.
that's crazy. But so, we saw the story. We had you scheduled to come on today, and it was just a natural fit of you've been to so many campgrounds. I would love to hear from you, some of the more unique places, unique settings, unique models that you've seen and that you've come across. And it ties in with the comments you just made of you got to be unique, right? And portions of the industry are becoming so commoditized and competing on price. And I think it's kind of a tragedy for those corners of the industry where uniqueness and character, is really what makes our industry shine. You talked about being at being at the conferences and just the vibes and the characters that are in our industry. So would love to just hear from you on, kind of the more unique models, unique stays that you've seen.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's interesting that they're talking about having like a grape surplus as you look at the data, like the younger generations now aren't drinking, right?
Right.
So like alcohol sales as a whole are starting to
Yeah.
decline. So it's like they're gonna have probably grape surpluses for a long time. I don't know if we'll ever see kind of wine sales like we did back. I'd say for the three of us, the way our parents were, the way our
Yeah.
parents
Yeah.
were raised, whatever the case is,
Two
right? So.
two words I never thought would be uttered on this podcast: a grape surplus. I don't think anybody had that on the bingo card.
It is funny that we're talking about it on a campground pod, but I mean it's
Yeah.
you know coming up with ways to attract the audience, attract the guest, right? So I mean myself personally, I joke and say I would never own a campground just because I see the work that people are putting in. But if I did ever own a campground, I assure you it would be, profitable because I've seen kind of all these different things and heard all the ideas, and people are telling me that they're renting out golf carts, making X amount of dollars, right? People are literally renting out hot tubs, right? Tyler Watts like renting out hot tubs, and I've seen, like, not to give away the secret sauce, the golf cart that he uses, and he drives around to his different sites with a tankless propane water heater on there to turn these hot tubs over in a matter of minutes, right? It's like
Crazy.
the creativity of that. I'm like, who came up with this idea? Is like, well, we had to get hot water and we had to turn these tubs over quickly. So I mean, pets, guys, I think the data is like you guys probably know the number, over 80%, I think, of people are traveling with their pets, with their dogs,
Yeah.
right? I know personally, like I said, I got my Frenchie over here. She had a little trouble breathing a couple months back. It cost me $4,000, and I was ready to remortgage the house. I was like, whatever it takes. Like, this dog is too young. I'm gonna pay for it, right? So, dog wash stations, absolutely important, right? Play areas for your dog, good fenced in areas for your dog. One of the things that I was talking to another couple about was you have a premium site, go on Amazon and buy the little fencing that you can put around a site and then advertise it as a dog friendly site. Now you don't, in the morning, you don't have to take the dog all the way. If you're like me and you just open the back door and let the dog go out. If you don't want to have to take them over to the dog park first thing in the morning or when they jump up at you at 3 a.m., you can just open it up. You got a little fenced in area. Now you're charging a premium for that site, right? I'm a huge advocate for whether it's domes, whether it's, and that was actually at the Power Breakfast, one of the sectors that they identified that was actually growing is, cabins, yurts. I talk to park owners all the time. I say, folks, huge demographic that's looking for that style of camping and that type of, style of entertainment, right? They can't necessarily afford a truck. I don't know if are you guys aware what an entry towable costs
Oh
right
my
now?
God. It's crazy.
Right? Yeah. And on top of that, not only that, but what do you need to tow it? You need an SUV at least, right? For a small towable.
Yeah.
Or you need a, 1500 a pickup truck, right?
Oh,
So,
it's crazy. Yeah.
yeah.
The trucks too, right?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I have a base model F-150 in the driveway that's easily like close to 60 grand,
Yeah. Yeah. I got Ram.
No frills, no bells and whistles in that thing.
Yeah, I got Ram emailing me yesterday trying to get me to trade in my truck for a new one. I see the price tag attached to the new one. I'm like, I think I like my truck. My truck's just fine. I just had it detailed. It's all clean. It looks brand new inside, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, how do you captivate that audience that, like I said, they just can't afford to go out today and buy a truck and a trailer and all that type of stuff, right? So there's definitely some ways there. I mean, one of the other things to give them a plug is Great Outdoor Cottages. Like you guys have seen their simulator cabin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that thing is so stinking cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys know this, but I golf as a part-time hobby. I say I'm semi-professional, but really I'm just semi-terrible. But I would be putting that thing on my property and I'd be advertising birthday parties, bachelor parties, rainy day specials. I would be putting one of those or two of those on my property and I'd be renting that out. I'd even go to the local community, right? I don't know about you guys. Do you guys have any indoor golf simulator companies around where you are?
Yeah.
Right.
So we do not, and it's definitely something that we've looked at, even with the space at the back of our property. Like, it's all empty acreage that's not monetized.
Yeah.
Like, put up a driving range or softball fields and host like baseball tournaments. And like, what can you do that's cheap? That's just, if you got extra land, like, how are you going to monetize that quickly?
And now they're like, I saw there's a pop-up company that has the inflatable like garage thing, for the golf simulator. Like, it's not that crazy to throw one up these days anymore either.
Now we're going to be targeted by Alibaba.com.
Yeah.
Way to bring that one up. They're going to be coming after us with the inflatable boat and all that stuff that you see online.
Yeah.
There goes our algorithm. No, I mean, again, one thing that you have to do is you have to step back and not look at everything as a cost. You got to look at everything and go, okay, how much revenue can I generate out of this thing, right? And that's why I say, like, listen, if I had a campground, I'd make it profitable because I look at every square inch. When I had my own office spaces in my old business, I looked at every square inch of the business and thought, okay, how much revenue is this generating? Look at the restaurant industry. I don't know if you guys have spent much time in the restaurant business, but go and look at an office in the back of a restaurant. It is like the smallest, stamp. Right? And you walk in, they got a printer, they got a computer, they got files for the last 6 years, and there's like one little chair where the restaurant manager sits, because they all say you don't make money sitting in this office. It's all about the front of the house, right?
Yeah.
So they don't want extra square footage wasted there when you can, put a table there hypothetically.
For sure.
You got to look at your park that way, right, Alex? Like, what do you got in the back 40 that you can, turn into a bike track and have just mountain bikes go out there? And next thing you know, you got mountain bike races, and they're coming in. They're actually making the tracks. I know of parks that are doing that. You have bike races. They're coming. They're bringing the shovels. They're digging the dirt. They're doing the work. And next thing you know, you got a full park having a mountain bike race.
For sure. Yeah, really smart. I like that analogy a lot. Makes a ton of sense.
So Garrett, as we just talked through that, that we're really highlighting obviously the experiential part of the hospitality business. And I know, even for us here in Michigan, like we have a really large concert coming to the area at the end of August. I don't know if you're familiar with Billy Strings, the bluegrass artist.
Yep.
Yeah, so his hometown is here. The local area is gonna swell up for like 40,000 people are coming to our little Poach's stamp of a town. There's not nearly enough supply, but like these are the type of events: the World Cup, America 250, Route 66 this year. There's so many examples of like this is a big year for kind of event based travel when people might not be taking the like national park trip because of gas prices like they might have in the past. And we see even this week another story in Woodall's again. Rover Pass launched kind of their event ticketing side of the business. Airbnb has put out their campaigns with launching experiences to pair with the lodging. Is this something that Campground Views is looking at? Like, how do we combine the experience side to the tours and the parks? And kind of where do you see that marriage lining up between experiences and then the parks themselves?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's giving people an excuse to get outdoors and enjoy what it is that they're doing. Like, we have to educate the customer, right? I can tell you from Campground Views, we've got some more stuff that's going to be released later this year that's going to play right into that, Alex. I'd love to release be the breaking news right here on the pod, but I'm going to have to save it.
We need a reason to bring you back, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm teasing you to bring me back in a few months, but I mean, again, it's all about giving people a reason. So kind of like giving them a reason to be there during the week, give them a reason to be there on the weekend as well, right? So it's about educating, and if we're not making noise about these things or we're not making it easy, I love what Rover Pass is doing, like, and what Airbnb is doing is like, hey, yes, you're coming here. Now we can add this on with no friction. It's an easy way to spend money. Right.
Or I always like the before, right? Somebody kind of searching for the event, like use that as the demand driver and then find the best platform, like whether it's Rover Pass, CampSpot, Campground Views, like where am I finding more info about, okay, I want to go to this event. Now, where am I staying? What am I now picking? So I like it from both sides.
Yeah. I think sometimes too, like, and I can't say this for all operators, but like, the operators get like tunnel vision because they have so much going on literally right in their square footage of a campground that they forget to look and see what's going on around them that they can utilize as a buzz, right? So what's happening around me that people are going to be excited about that I can go and, advertise to or pull some of those people that are drawn in for this over to our business, right? So for example, in town here, we had bike day or, bike week, whatever you want to call it last weekend. It's like, if I'm a business operator in town, I'm putting everything into search engines that's around motorcycles, bikes, Harleys, Indian. Like I would be targeting that audience of people who I know are coming to town to want to, come to my venue or whatever the case is, right? So I think as operators, it's like, hey, what's happening around you? If I know if there's a concert in the area, then I'm going to start every time somebody types in the word concert into AI or into Google, I'm going to be hammering that onto my platform. So that way my location comes up. Right. But again, it's about reducing friction. So, I mean, you make it easy for the person and they're going to spend the money. Right. We know, why is Amazon so successful? Amazon's so successful because they've made it too easy for us to buy and get product. Right. They figured it out.
Yeah.
Right. We've all been sitting there and go, oh yeah, I need that. And then we grab our phone and we order it. Right.
There's a drone operation getting approved around the corner from my house for them to do drone deliveries. So
there you go.
Might be enjoying some same day drone deliveries from Amazon someday soon.
Yeah, I mean, again, they're making it easier, right? So I mean, if these if Rover Pass and some of these companies are again making add-ons simple for people, it's only going to make them want to spend more money, and it's easier for them to spend more money, right? And I know I've been telling folks when I'm teaching sometimes, I give the example of we have a gas station in Canada. We have an Esso gas station. So the thing about Esso gas station that I like is if you go to their locations that have the car wash attached to them, when you go up and pay for your gas, they have a rule. The attendant must ask you if you want a car wash. That's the rule. If they don't ask you if you want a car wash, you get a free car wash, right? Now, keep in mind, you could walk in there, it is torrential downpour, or it's like a blizzard outside, and the attendant, what does he say? Would you like a car wash? I'm like, buddy, have you looked out the front door, right? Doesn't matter. They got to ask that question. It's a part of their script. Okay, so, if every time you check out after you make a reservation and on your checkout you throw in an offer, would you like to pre-purchase your wood? Would you like, to pre-purchase your ice? Would you like to pre-purchase your tickets to the concert down the road or the music venue or the, bingo hall of fame down the street, right? If you put it in their face, they're going to go, oh, you know what? Honey, I would like to see the Bingo Hall of Fame while we're in Michigan. Let's get tickets to that. And it was easy for me to buy it.
So funny.
Are you going to get some sales?
Yeah, absolutely. And we've seen that too, right? And I love, Garrett, as you talked earlier, and as Toby mentioned, I was kind of doing a Memorial Day recap on here. Like, how are you finding ways to keep people more engaged? Like, if they're not only experiencing your park, but your area, and we're giving people more reasons to be connected, whether that's with the outdoors, with community, with whatever's happening for that event. Like, now that's a part of those travel behaviors. And instead of getting the person who might just book Memorial Day or 4th of July or like the classic camping holidays, that we're turning that repeat business, and that loyalty becomes incredibly more important as you're doing that. Like, the average guest that stays with us will stay 2.5 times, over the course of the season, beating that national average, and that's just at our park. That's not even whatever trips they're going to take to, parks that aren't ours. So yeah, the way in which we're engaging them and building that loyalty up, that's where I think that, that's ultimately going to drive the business moving forward.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of captivating that audience while they're there and getting them to rebook on the site for their, for their next visit, right? I know if you guys ever been on a cruise, the cruise line does this so well. I mean, first day you get on that cruise, they start asking you to start cruising with them again the next time. And it's like, it's like $5,000. And then the last day, it's like, give us $500. You can come back, right? They keep lowering every day of the cruise. They keep lowering the price of your next cruise. But they are bent on not letting you get off that ship with booking your next cruise, right? So again, like, they've already stayed with you. They know the park. Get them to rebook with you right there on the spot, whether it's for next year or for later on in the summer. The other thing I was just thinking of, Alex, while you're talking is, talk about experiences, like have somebody come on and do a cooking class. Hey, I'm going to teach you how to cook a T-bone steak or a tomahawk steak over the fire. Like, have a chef in your area come and do a literal over the fire cooking. We were doing kind of a glamping experience up here in Ontario, and they had that. You could add on a chef. The chef showed up. I kid you not. This guy shows up, pulls up on an ATV, drops down 2 Rubbermaid bins, and all of a sudden, next thing I know, he had this whole kitchen thing set up. They had the fire going during the day, so we had nice coals. And we're sitting there. I've got a tomahawk steak. I've got, like, a potato puree. I've got dessert. He made it right in front of us over the fire. And it was a pretty big upsell. Like, I want to say it was like an extra $500 to our experience. But I was like, this dude's going to roll up. He built, those like kitchens that you can like build when you're camping, all that type of stuff. Dude rolls up in an ATV, builds this kitchen, cooks us one of the best tomahawk steaks over the fire I've ever had in my life for like $500. I was like, I would 1000% do this again and pay the premium.
Nice. Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah, I love that. Like, and bring the experience to you, right? If you're the park operator, how can you partner with like the best chef or the best yoga instructor or like whatever that is that's going to meet your market? Bring them on to the property. You might pull people from the community to come that too, who are fans of that chef or that experience, and then your campers don't have to leave. Like, you become the destination and the one-stop shop, which I love.
And I'm all about doing things where, I personally wouldn't have to do the work, right? Like, it's, that guy shows up, he does the work, I just take my 10% off the top or whatever it is.
Exactly.
For sure.
So, Garrett, as we start to wrap up here, is Matt and I do this often, try and take the crystal ball out and look at like, okay, where do we see next year going? As obviously we're midway through the season now, right? We've gotten through Memorial Day. We're still in the midst of the peak season for a lot of operators, either through 2026 or into 2027. Where do you see the industry going? Again, what do you think? How are parks going to adapt, and how should they be adapting, into the next year? And just kind of, if you had that crystal ball, what advice would you tell people?
That's a weighted question. Thank you.
I know. I end with the best ones, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, I have access to our data, right? So I know what our data shows, and I don't want to say our data is skewed because we're kind of like, up and coming, or the technology's growing, or adding more virtual tours, which again gives us more views. But I'm looking at our data over the last year. We're up 120%. If I kind of zone that in, our data over the last 3 months, we're up 75%. So, I mean, when it comes to our platform, what it's telling me is that campers are looking at campgrounds. That is kind of the number one thing that it's given me. It's not giving me reservation data per se that, some of the, CampSpot and those companies are getting, but the campers are out there. The campers are looking to find campgrounds. They're trying to find campgrounds that meet their needs, right? So I think the industry as a whole, I think we're going to be in a little bit of a lull, especially this year, without a doubt, with gas prices. I can also tell you guys this, and this is one thing I talk about being, north of you guys in Canada. $1.40 right now on the exchange rate. I don't know if you guys follow that. I do quite often. So a dollar, so you gotta keep in mind it's $1. I think the exchange yesterday was $1.3950. Now then you got to add on your bank fee, so it's more like $1.43 or $1.45 for a Canadian to go down and spend Canadian pesos down in America right now. Guys, it's not cheap. It's hard, right? And that's that's conversations like, you want to take your kids down to Florida? You want to take your kids down to Orlando or Disney or all those things? It's already a fairly expensive trip. I think what we need to see happen without a doubt is fuel prices come back down, which I think it will over the next 12 months. I think the Canadian dollar is going to rebound a little bit, which will help out with Canadian travel back to the US. And I think just, next year and the year after, we're going to start to see another uptick. There's ebbs and flows to every industry that you participate in, right? And I've talked to people that have been in this industry for 30, 40 years are like, yeah, this happens. We'll get through it. Not a big deal. 2008, miserable for the camping industry. Everybody got back through it, right? So just a matter of time, guys. Wait out the storm. Don't hit the panic button. Don't try to do something that's, over the top. Just keep people excited about camping. Keep people loving camping. One of my favorite things about what I do today versus what I did for a lot of my career is I told people before when I was in the HVAC business, like, I was in furnaces, air conditioners, water heaters. I tell somebody I'm in HVAC and people are like, hey, what does that stand for? Oh yeah, furnace air, thing keeps you warm in the winter and cold in the summer. Nobody cared. Honestly, my buddies didn't care. People I met didn't care. But when I tell people now that I work in the campground industry, my Cairo yesterday, I was like, yeah, he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, yeah, I work in the campground industry. Right away, he went to telling me a story about camping. Right away. My barber, same thing. Awesome. Oh, I love tent camping. If you guys tell somebody you work in the camping industry, what's the reaction?
I mean, I won't lie. Sometimes people say not for me, but
oh yeah,
I think that's what makes it special, right? Is that it's we got some new people that tried it in COVID, and we saw that in the data that they bought their camper and then they sold their camper, or they tried it and then they gave up on it. But it's a growing industry, and people who are into it, right? That's what I love about it. It's a committed thing, right? You're committed to it. You talked about, right, your experience with the fifth wheels and then switching out all the stuff in the fifth wheels right after you bought it. Like that's a level of dedication that a lot of industries don't see.
Yeah.
And even in tent camping on the other side, like that's a whole thing, right? You're going on vacation, but you're probably working harder than you did during your 9 to 5, right? Yeah. But it's a different kind of thing. It clears the mind. Like I look back to last season and like one of the most, kind of it sounds stupid, but one of the most rewarding, refreshing memories I have from last camping season is when I was setting up my truck tent. It's raining. I'm setting up the rain fly. I'm watching YouTube videos on how to tie a better knot to get the rain fly working better. Though I forget the name of the knot, but I'm like, you know what? Like some people, and like another version of myself in a different mindset, I'd be like pissed. I'd be like, I just want to like grab a beer and like sit down and like, zone out. But like, it was the right moment. It was the right, mindset. And it was just a way to exercise the mind, exercise the body, get away from the minutia of day-to-day life. So I think that's what we have in our industry. And I think you kind of, you nailed it right there with what you were saying.
Yeah, you got to overcome those challenges sometimes, right? Especially depending on where you are. Sometimes help's not coming for you when you're out there camping.
Right.
No choice, right? Yeah, you do
like
got to
getting
use.
rained on, learning how to tie a knot, but it was a great time.
Yeah, and afterwards you're like, all right, I got that done. Now I can actually sit back, fire up the grill, and
then I'm like,
relax.
all right, I got to grind my coffee. I got to do the camp coffee. It takes 30 minutes to make a cup of coffee.
I know. Yeah, you weren't glamping, you were camping, right? So
Yeah.
yeah. Not if it was your first time, you might be a little bit more frustrated, but you toughed it out, right? No,
Yeah.
it's a great industry, and I think too, as we're more connected in our lives day to day, we are going to seek out disconnection, and I think we're going to look to go off grid. We're going to look to go, and now the technology that's out there to enable somebody to go off grid is incredible. I got Starlink.
Yeah.
I can go sit anywhere. I don't want to sometimes be around people or, not have access to Netflix or whatever the case is, and just relax, watch the sunset, watch the sun come up, and just enjoy, for those people that have kids, watching their kids catch the first fish of the summer or the first fish of their life. I mean, it's pretty cool to see the memories that get made around campfires and, out experiencing and doing those things and overcoming some of those challenges, man.
Yeah. Well said.
Garrett, as we end here, just give us, I know we didn't, give you time in the intro. What's the 30-second pitch on Campground Views, and where can people contact you if somebody's interested in learning more about the service you guys provide?
Yeah, you can, campgroundviews.com. You can reach me at Garrett at campgroundviews.com. Video virtual tours of campgrounds across the United States, a handful in Canada. We have over 3,700 video virtual tours live on our website right now with our route planner. Goal is simply just to allow people to see what's going on at the park before they arrive. We want to take away any nervousness, any friction, any anxiety for those folks that know what it's like to tow a RV across the country. We just want to make sure when you get to that location, you can pull in, set up, you know how to tie all your knots, you know where everything's going, where your slide outs are going, and you can, get to the pool and get to the drink faster and not have any hiccups when you arrive. That's what our technology is about. We want you to really have a good time camping, so that way you come back, or you go to the next campground, and we're out there 2, 3, 4 times a year making our industry better. That's what we're trying to do with our technology. Real simple, but we love doing it, and we're going to keep growing it here over years to come.
Amazing.
Awesome. Garrett, well, thank you so much for taking the time with Matt and I today. I know we really appreciated getting to hear all your knowledge, and I'm sure we'll see you here in person soon at one of these industry conferences and events. And as we teased earlier, maybe we'll have you back on when the time's ready for some more news.
Yeah, well, I was trying not to give too much away and trying not to predict the future too much with you guys, but I appreciate what you guys do for the industry. I appreciate how hard you guys work for the industry as well. It's honestly an honor to be on with you guys and talk about what we have going on and what we're doing. So thanks for having me, and I'll come back anytime.
Awesome.
Thanks so
Means
much,
a lot,
Garrett.
and appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.